AI wrote this script. Not the gist of it, not the outline. The first draft came out of an agent pipeline that I built for this channel. And the thumbnail copy you saw before clicking, an agent. The description underneath the video, agent. The tags, the keywords, the LinkedIn post that I'm going to publish later about it today, all agents. Now, here's the 5-agent pipeline behind every single piece of content on this channel. And yeah, this episode is going to be a little bit weird because the thing that I'm explaining is the thing that made the thing you're watching. Let's get into it. I want to be honest with you for a second because this episode is meta and I don't want it to feel like a magic trick. AI still feels a little bit like magic to me, but just like magic in real life, once you start to understand how it works, you can see behind the curtain. That doesn't take away from the majesty of it, but you can start to see the chinks in the armor. Here's what that actually means for me. I generate a lot of content. Coming up with the general ideas and outlines used to eat hours out of my week. Now the pipeline handles most of that, and I spend that time on the input, the part that needs to be me. Every script I shoot, I'm taking 10 to 15 minutes of actual voice-to-text time and threading it back in, so my voice is authentically in there. That's the pitch. AI handles the scaffolding, I sit down and actually say what I think. Let me give you the landscape because the numbers have gotten wild. 82% of businesses now use AI tools for content creation, not plan to use. Present tense. 91% of marketing professionals are actively using AI tools in 2026, and that's up from 63% just a year ago. That's not a trend line, that's a rocket ship. But, and this is where I land differently than most people in this space, I don't think 100% of writers or marketers actually need to use this stuff. This is the same existential question every creative field has had with every new tool. If you were a photographer back in the day and the digital camera came out, did you have to use the digital camera? No. Are you an author who has to write on a laptop, or could you use a typewriter? Technically, still no. You can still write with quill and ink if you want. But here's where I'd push you. To villainize AI as a whole in the creative process is a misread. The way I think about it, use AI for the stuff you don't want to do. The uploads, the conversions, the reformatting. The admin stuff. Keep the part that's actually yours. That's the choice. Not AI or no AI, it's where does the human energy go? On the freelance side, the data is harder. Writing projects on Upwork dropped 32% year over year, the biggest decline of any category on the entire platform. Average freelance writer earnings fell about 5% after ChatGPT launched. AI-generated articles briefly surpassed human-written articles in late 2024. Since then, it's been roughly 50-50. And here's the one thing that hits the hardest, but in the other direction. Human-written content still generates 5.5 times more traffic over 5 months. Sessions last 41% longer. Bounce rates are 18% lower. Google doesn't care whether AI wrote it. Google cares whether it's good. And right now, humans are still winning the war on the good end. Now, you can build a business that is entirely AI and have moderate success. That can be done. But until AI is the one buying it, humans are still the final frontier and the final customer. The connection people feel to the struggle and the process behind a piece of work, that's not something a model can synthesize. So the question isn't, is AI replacing writers? It already has, for the commodity stuff. The real question is, what does a content writer's workflow actually look like now? Before I show you my pipeline, let's take a look at the tool market because it's enormous, and honestly, most of it is a lot of noise. Jasper includes over 100 marketing apps, their brand voice system, and their Jasper IQ knowledge layer. They're the biggest name in AI for writing and marketing teams. Copy.ai pivoted hard into sales and the go-to market. Writer.com went after the enterprise, regulated industries, and compliance. For SEO work, you've got Surfer SEO, which is about $100 a month, and their content scores correlates with actual Google rankings, which is more than most tools can claim. Phrase at $15 a month is doing something interesting with GEO optimization. That's optimizing your content to show up in AI search engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google AI overviews. And then there's Claude and ChatGPT, which is what most people, including myself, are actually using day to day. The market is $3.5 billion in 2025, projected to hit almost $18 billion by 2033. Here's my issue with all of it. Every one of those tools is a point solution. You go to Jasper for a draft. You go to Surfer for SEO. You go to Buffer or Hootsuite for distribution. That's 3 tabs, 3 logins, and 3 sets of contexts that don't talk to each other. You're the integration layer. You're the glue. And honestly, this is where I land on tools in general. The people I find most interesting in any creative space are the ones who geek out about their specific thing. Interested people are interesting. If you're using a tool to help your process, that's great. But if you're using a tool to completely supersede the process and take over, then it's not you anymore. You're just the guy pressing the buttons. Honestly, most people use AI for writing the way you'd hit a vending machine. Put in a prompt, get out a blog post. The real leverage isn't in any single tool, it's in chaining specialized agents where each one does exactly one job and hands its output to the next. But I want to give you the honest version of how to get there because I literally just had this conversation with a few friends who are starting to create content with AI. You won't know what you need until you start the process. Just downloading what worked for somebody else, copying their stack, putting 6 agents in your pipeline because that's what your favorite creator did, that's probably going to give you something worse than what you would have gotten if you had built it on your own. My advice is to start down the road with a general idea, maybe 1 or 2 agents. A research agent, something that drafts, real general. When you hit a brick wall, when there's a specific thing eating your time over and over, that's when you invest in turning that into a workflow. That's how I built mine, and honestly, mine probably wouldn't fit for everybody else because it's built around how I do what I do. Here's the full CADMUS Lab content pipeline. 7 agents, each one a real project sitting in my codebase right now. I have a comment scraper agent. It pulls audience data from YouTube comments. I have a content strategy agent, which turns that data into content briefs. My script writing agent, which turns those briefs into scripts like this one. A visual asset agent that generates thumbnails and social graphics. A distribution agent, which creates metadata, descriptions, and tags. My upload agent, which handles the actual YouTube upload via API. And my analytics agent, which pulls performance data and feeds insights back to content strategy. That's the full loop. Analytics feeds strategy, which feeds the next cycle. It's not linear, it's circular. And I'll be honest, I love this pipeline. And part of why I love it is just because I built it. I grabbed ideas from other creators, sure. I'm always looking for inspiration. But the agents themselves understand my process now. I've refined them over time. The one that surprised me the most with how much value it adds was actually the upload agent. I built a lot of fun, splashy widgets and visual generators, and those are really interesting to me. But uploading metadata, SEO tags, I really don't care about that stuff. I care that it's effective, but I don't care that it's fun because it isn't. If I'm trying to upload 40 videos, I could do it manually in maybe an hour and a half, but the upload agent does it in 10 minutes. For today, I'm zooming into the 5 agents that handle the writing-specific work, the pipeline that took this episode from we should do content writer next to the script and metadata that you're consuming right now. Agent 1 is the content strategy agent. Its job is to answer one question: what should we make and why? It starts by scraping YouTube comments, not for compliments, but for pain points. What are people asking about? What do they say they wanted to see? That's real audience research, not guesswork. And honestly, I'll tell you, even at the scale I'm at right now, with only maybe a dozen comments to work with, this is already paying off. There was a comment on one of my videos along the lines of, what AI generates is garbage, you can tell right away. I didn't argue with the person, I agreed with them. Because they're right. Most of the AI slop you see out there is garbage, and it's because nobody is spending any actual time on it. That comment shaped how I think about every script after it. The agent also analyzes competitor content gaps. What are other agents covering? More importantly, what are they not covering? Where's the white space? It checks SEO opportunities, trending topics, seasonal relevance, and it produces one thing, a structured content brief. Now here is the actual brief for this episode. Topic, angle, hook, target audience, key points with timestamps, source material, tone, notes. Everything that the next agent needs to do its job. Brief goes into this pipeline and the next agent picks it up. Now, agent 2 is the script writing agent, and this is where it gets personal, because I have a very specific relationship with this one. Not like that. It takes the brief, reads any reference material, whether that's PDFs, previous episode scripts, or research docs, and generates a full monologue script. Timestamps, stage directions, visual cues, the whole thing. Now, for my short form content, the AI draft ships mostly as is with a few tweaks. My script agent has learned how I speak by now, and the short form stuff sounds enough like me. It's punchy and it's structured, and AI handles that really well. But for long form, 10-minute episodes like this one are a completely different story. If you take a look at my first batch of videos, those are the AI 0 to Hero shorts. They were heavily AI generated. And honestly, I could tell. They were punchy in a way that wasn't how I actually spoke. And honestly, that was fine. I was still learning how to shoot, edit, all of that. But it taught me that you can't just take what an agent gives you and ship it. You have to inject yourself. The clearest moment I notice this is when I'm reading a script through the teleprompter for the first time. It just feels off. I used to push through it, keep it as is, deliver it, move on. The voice was still mine technically, but the script wasn't. Now I ad-lib a lot more, and honestly I'm just a lot more comfortable with just going off script when something doesn't sound right. And honestly, I want to be straight about why I even needed an AI draft writer in the first place. It wasn't about creative ability. I was a pretty decent writer in college, I wrote a ton of papers, and I like to read a lot. Structure and flow have always come pretty naturally to me. But the blank page problem for me wasn't a lack of motivation or discipline, it was a lack of knowledge. 5 months ago, I didn't really understand AI. I knew chatbots, but I didn't know what agents were. Now I do. And the blank page is gone because I'm not staring at one anymore. That's what the draft agent really should give you. Not your voice, not your soul, just a starting point that isn't blank. Now, Agent 3 is the revision pass, and this might be the most underrated step in any AI writing workflow. Here's what it does. It checks tone consistency. It checks factual accuracy. It checks brand voice. Does this sound like CADMUS Lab or does it sound like generic LinkedIn slop? And the most important one, it flags sections that feel AI generic. You know the writing I mean. The overly smooth transitions, the unnecessary hedging, the structure that's technically correct but emotionally flat. When I read a script out loud, I can feel those sections immediately. That's where the editor agent and I agree most. Those are the sections I ad-lib. Now, 73% of marketers who report success with AI content use a human-AI hybrid approach. I think we're finally getting to the point where AI is calming down. People have a general understanding of what it can and honestly what it can't do, and the hybrid approach is becoming the obvious winner. Companies that figure this out are going to lap the ones that don't. Here's how I describe my own pipeline to other people. It's less automation and more like I'm in charge of a small team. Each agent is a team member with a specialty. They take a task and then they bring it back. I either approve or deny it, and then we pass it to the next agent. I'm basically able to handle the work of a small team because I have a small team of agents. The editor agent is one of those team members, and it's the one who catches what I miss when I'm moving too fast. Now, Agent 4 is the distribution agent, and it handles SEO. This is where most content creators leave money on the table. You can write the best script in the world, but if your title doesn't match search intent, if your description is 2 lines of nothing, if your tags are random words you brainstormed in 30 seconds, nobody's going to find it. And I'll be honest, SEO is something that I'm only really starting to understand now. It's one of those things you can read all you want about, but until you run into the issue yourself, you really don't know it. And listen, I hate clickbait. The "you're going to be amazed at what happened" stuff drives me up a wall. But clever titles, clever puns, I generally enjoy that part of the process, and working with the agent to land on the right title is actually one of the more fun steps for me. The SEO agent generates title variations scored against search volume, descriptions written for both humans and algorithms, tags mapped to actual keyword data, and it generates platform-native metadata for each channel. YouTube SEO is different from blog SEO, is different than LinkedIn SEO, and the agent knows that. Here's the framing I'd push back on, though. People talk about AI as it gets you to 90%, then a human fills the last 10%. And honestly, I don't think that's right. The way I describe it is that the agent will get you to about 70 or 80% of the way through the automatable work, really well. But then the human doesn't go from 90 to 100, the human takes it from 100 to 120. You're not finishing a task, you're elevating it. And until AI hits AGI levels, the human is still the most crucial cog in the whole thing. And that's the bet I'm making across this entire pipeline. Now, Agent 5 is where one piece of content becomes 6. This is the part that changed my math on the whole operation. The repurposing agent takes one finished anchor piece, this script for example, and it fractures it across every platform I publish on. A YouTube description optimized for watch time and SEO, a LinkedIn post reframed for a professional audience, an X thread designed for retweets and not just chopped up sentences, an email newsletter section, short form script for YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, and a quote graphic caption for Instagram and LinkedIn carousels. 6 platform native outputs from one anchor piece. Not copy pasted, not the same text reformatted, each one written for the platform it lives on. And I'll tell you my honest position on this. I'm just trying to make the content I want to make. I'm watching analytics to see what lands, of course, but if LinkedIn ends up not loving the videos I create and YouTube does, that's fine. If TikTok takes off and the email doesn't, that's also fine. I'm not trying to contort the work to a specific platform's preferences, say that 3 times fast. I'm letting the repurpose agent translate and then I'm watching where it sticks. A LinkedIn post that reads a lot like a tweet is a bad LinkedIn post, but a lot of people copy-paste the same caption everywhere anyway. I think it comes down to fear. It's easier to be part of the crowd than to be the post that doesn't look like everyone else's. People look at the top performer in their feed and think, if my post doesn't look like that, I can't possibly do well. And that's the wrong way to look at it. This is where content writers become content systems. You're not working harder, you're not writing 6 things. You're writing one thing well and letting the pipeline handle the distribution. Now, I want to be honest about something because I know who's watching this. Some of you are freelance writers. Some of you make your living writing blog posts, email campaigns, and web copy. And the numbers I showed at the top, the 32% decline on Upwork, the earnings drop, the contracts disappearing, that's your reality. I'm not going to pretend that isn't happening. The middle is what's hollowing out. Generic content writing, write me a 500-word blog post about productivity tips, is a commodity now. AI does that faster and cheaper than any human can. Those gigs are gone, and they're probably not coming back. But at the same time, and this is important, Niche specialists are thriving. Finance writers averaging $73,000 a year. White paper specialists commanding $6,000 a month. Medical writers charging $60 to $150 an hour. Companies that went all in on AI-only content are coming back to humans because the AI content doesn't perform well. I have a close friend who's a fantastic writer. He's got his 5th book coming out this year. He's also a ghostwriter for a number of really successful businesses, and his Substack has a real audience. He's thriving right now. And the reason he's thriving isn't because he's fighting AI. It's because AI is removing every administrative thing that he hates to do. The scheduling, the formatting, the repurposing, the stuff that takes him away from the actual writing. He gets to spend more time doing the thing he loves because the agents are handling the rest. That's the model that I love. And if you're a true believer that AI is either something you have to fully surrender to or something you have to fight, I think you're missing the point. It's a tool. It's the same as a computer. It's the same as the internet. Once you understand it as a tool, it's far less scary. The path forward isn't fight AI or die. It's use AI for the parts that don't need your voice. The research, the SEO, the repurposing, the metadata. And invest your human energy into the parts that do need your voice. The insight, the narrative, and the expertise. That's exactly what I do on this channel. The pipeline handles the volume, I handle the taste. This episode was the proof. The pipeline that researched the topic, wrote the brief, generated the first draft, edited the script, optimized the metadata, and repurposed it across all platforms. That pipeline is real. It runs on my channel every week. And you just watch the output. Now there's a line Alex Hormozi says that I keep coming back to. AI today is as bad as it's ever going to be. The pipeline I just walked you through, in 10 years, what we're doing right now is going to be common knowledge. You won't have to adopt every new thing that drops, but you do need to understand it on the base level. If you're a writer right now and you're scared, here's one thing I'd tell you to do this week. Not the year plan, but something you can actually accomplish this week. Look at your day. Find the things you're spending the most time on that has nothing to do with the actual creative work. The 15 minutes here answering an email that doesn't matter. The 2 hours stuck trying to come up with a title. The 30 minutes formatting something for the 4th time. That's where AI can help. Not in writing for you, it's in clearing the runway so you can write more of what you love. AI doesn't have to take over your writing. I don't think it ever should. But used as a tool, it can carve a few extra hours back into your week. Thanks for listening. Next week, we're doing this for data analysts. The Bureau of Labor Statistics projects 34% growth in data science roles over the next decade, despite heavy automation. That paradox is worth understanding, and I'll break it down. If you write for a living or if you create content for your business, drop a comment and tell me which part of the workflow eats the most time. Research, first drafts, editing, distribution. I'll tell you which agent handles it best. Subscribe if you want to see the rest of this series, and I'll see you next week.